Hey, thank you for following the First Metal Church of Christ. Glad to have you. Hey, be sure to go over to our social media platform and like and follow us. And also be sure to go over to our YouTube channel and subscribe to it. Pass along to your friends and family. A lot of us probably have played sports or activities, won a trophy, ribbons, medallions. We put them in our room and hang them up and, show them all per se. And I always want to look at them because those were our achievements. These are things that we worked hard for. And, friends would come over and look at them and, they would see what great achievements that you have accomplished. Maybe you can be an inspiration to them. But I want to take a look at something a little different from a different angle. Satan's trophy room. Let's take an imaginary journey with me and let's go down into Satan's prize vault. And inside his first room, we come into the Old Testament vault and looking around. And inside this vault, Satan is showing us some of his trophies that he's very proud of. Just like us, we like to show some of our trophies we're very proud of. And I look at Satan and I tell him, I see you got that fellow's head up there. And who is that man hanging up there anyway? How did you trap him? Did you get him because of the fact that he inherited his sins from his father? Satan replied, no, he didn't have any parents. Did you get him because he was in a bad environment? No, this guy lived in paradise. I mean, man, this place was perfect. Did you get this man with evil temptations? Was he hanging around at the bars or the strip clubs or the porno shops? Or maybe down at the massage parlor? No, wasn't none of that either. Did you ensnare him with another woman? No, there wasn't even another woman. You heard the story about Eve as to what she would do when Adam would go asleep. She would sit there and count his ribs to make sure there wasn't another woman. Did you get him by education? No, smartest man in the world. Did you trick him some way? No, he wasn't deceived. Well, what did you use as a hook? What did you use as a bait? I mean, how did you get Adam here in your vault? Satan replied, peer pressure of his wife. You see, there has been some good men and women ensnared by peer pressure from their spouses because they have been provoked by Satan. Unequally yoked relationships. Eve probably went into this routine. If you love me, you will take a bite. Please, Adam, why don't you eat it? I ate it and didn't die. Adam responded to Eve by telling her that God told him not to eat of the fruit from the tree in the middle of the garden. Now, Eve, God told us not to do this. How many men and women will be in hell because of peer pressure from their spouses? But then I look and see a nice fella, probably a king, big, tall fellow. Looks like he would put up a great fight when you got him in your net. Yeah, he did, man. He put up a good fight for me. What did you use as a hook to ensnare King Saul? I used envy to kill David, and sin drove Saul literally crazy. The hook was envy and pride. In Satan's vault hanged a man that once was humble. Now he is there in the vault. He allowed envy and pride to get a hold of him, and Satan put a ring in his nose and led him captive. How many of us is letting envy and pride lead us straight into hell? Now I see two fellows, and they look like they're brothers, Nadab and Abihu. They had the advantages of being the high priest's sons. They had the honor of seeing God with their very own eyes. They even walked with God, and they ate with God. But the Bible says they offered up strange fires, which God told them not to. I see two more sons over there besides Nadab and Abihu. I see Hophni and Phinehas. They assumed that they deserved all the sacrifices. Satan replied, these guys were something else, I tell you what, but I caught them. Man, they were hard, but I got them. I see a very intelligent, good-looking fellow there. He is a son after the man of God's own heart. He is one of the Messiah will come through. He is of the Messianic line, the royal line of David. How did you ensnare King Solomon, Satan? Satan replied, through his many lovers, his many wives, and non-believing partners. It was the wisest man. If he couldn't handle a non-believing partner, what makes you so sure you can? Samson was the strongest man in the world, but he couldn't handle non-believing partners. If you marry a non-believing partner, you're going to have trouble. Here's another fella, man, a kind of ugly man, and his name is Balaam. And what did you do, Satan? He prophesied for rewards. Well, how did you get him? I got him to prostitute the palace. He used his talents for self-gratification. How many of us is turning ourselves and looking for self-gratification, the center of attention? Do whatever it can to get attention because you put yourself above everybody else. Holier than thou, look at me, look what I got. If you look down the other side of the vault, that you will see a row of heads. These were the heads of the last kings of Israel. The majority of the kings' heads are from Judea. Hezekiah may be there, maybe not, I don't know. It's hard for a man to be rich and powerful and be saved. Just like people today, it's hard for people to be rich and be saved because they can't give up that money. Money is the root of all evil, and it ensnares them. No wonder God said it would be hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. And if it's hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven because of their money and power and fame and glory, well, it makes you think that you will go with the same thing. Then I see another row of heads, and these are the about 10 heads hanging there. These are the 10 spies that spied out the land of Canaan. You know, they all died in the wilderness, but only 2 are missing. That's Joshua and Caleb. There are 2 women hanging there. Man, you can see beauty written all over them. This is Athaliah and Jezebel. Evil women, and worse than their mothers-in-law. But just below Athaliah's head, this is the story. This woman would kill her own grandkids, and next to her, only worse, is Jezebel. Next, we see Jehoshaphat, David's counselor, the wisest man in Israel at that time. Probably taught Solomon a lot of what Solomon knew. But David's best friend and counselor. But there I see the head of Ahithophel, and there is a rope around his neck. And after the rebellion of Absalom, because Absalom had not obeyed his advice, Ahithophel went out and hung himself. Well, how did you get Ahithophel to turn against David? Ahithophel was Bathsheba's grandfather. And he never forgave David for what he did to Bathsheba and the killing of Uriah. And because there was a root of bitterness that sprung up and troubled him, he waited for the right opportunity to betray David. Ahithophel was ensnared by bitterness and unforgiveness. How many of us today are filled with bitterness and unforgiveness? Has so much built up inside you that you just can't let it go. Eating at you, day in and day out. Being miserable and lonely, hard-hearted, resentful. As we walk on down the hall, we see the room called the New Testament. And just as I step inside the vault of the New Testament, I see a little fellow with beady eyes, and his name is Judas. Now Judas, he was handpicked to be an apostle. And other apostles picked him to be treasurer. He was probably the most trusted one of all if they all picked him to be treasurer. He was kind and considerate at first, but he got the itch really bad. He got the love of money and betrayed the Lord for 30 pieces of silver. The love of money was a trap that Satan used to ensnare Judas. How many people does Satan have today entrapped with the love of money? People are selling their soul out for that mighty dollar. Is going to hell and being in Satan's trophy room worth that dollar? I picture Demas as a young, good-looking man. He may have died watching a chariot race, or he may have died in a house, but because he got tired of living in tents with Paul. Just wasn't comfortable and didn't like the idea of having to hump it, and he wanted the luxury of life. He liked the nice things that this world had to offer. He was a co-laborer of Paul, but the pleasures of the world got the best of him. And then I see, man, there's Simon the sorcerer. Man, did you know that he claimed to be some great one? People looked up to Simon the sorcerer before he was a Christian. He accompanied Philip after he was baptized. He deceived everyone with his craftiness, and everybody thought that he was a great one. He offered Peter and John money to receive their powers. But what did you use to ensnare Simon the sorcerer, Satan? And Satan replied, the love of fame and prestige. Tradition says he became the father of astronomy. He used the stars to predict future events. I can't help but wonder if he started the cult so that he can be Mr. Big again. There is a husband and wife team, and Satan got them both, Ananias and Sapphira. What was the hook that you used to get them, Satan? Recognition. It was recognition that I got Ananias and Sapphira. I see there hangs Herod. What was that hook? He loved power, so he had all the babies killed. And there hangs Pilate. And what was he doing in your vault? He was washing his hands because he didn't want to be a convenience in making a decision, because he wanted to please everybody. And now there he hangs. He looked at the vault room of Satan in the Old Testament and the New Testament. If you were the devil, would these be the ones that you would show off? Kings, high priests, sons, women, men. But you know, I never heard a fella talk about his trophies without mentioning you should have saw the one that got away. I had the strongest man in the world, Samson. Man, I had him sleeping in my lap, and I had my women cut off his hair. And I had him blinded, but I thought I had him. But I guess I overdid it. While he was down there not strapped to that gristmill, he repented and asked God to forgive him. He actually got away, and he took a lot of my people with him. He took more with him in his death than he did his whole life. And there was another one that got away, and that was David, a man after God's own heart. I mean, I came this close to getting him, and I got him to commit adultery and commit murder. Man, I tell you what, I came so close. But you know, that rascal repented, and he died, and I didn't even have his head. And there's old Peter. And I had him warming by a fire once. He was a bragger. He said he would never betray the Lord. Oh, but I got him to betray the Lord. Not once, but 3 times. I came very close to getting Peter. Just about had him too. But did you know that he wept sorely and he repented? And I tell you, I came so close to catching that big fish. Saul. Why, man, I had him out there killing Christians and selling women in the house of prostitution. I had him working for me, and wouldn't you know it? The enemy got him, and he became the biggest enemy outside the Lord himself. If it weren't for him, I would have a lot more trophies in this vault than what I got. The devil let some good ones get away. What about you? Did Satan catch you, or did you get away? What does Satan use to ensnare you with? Money? Prestige? Attention? Envy? Bitterness? Unforgiveness? Hatred? Listen to what Paul says in Galatians 3, 1-3. O foolish Galatians, who hath bewitched you, that you should not obey the truth, before whose eyes Jesus Christ has been evidently set forth, crucified among you? This only would I learn of you, receive ye the Spirit by the works of the law, or by the hearing of faith? Are ye so foolish, having begun in the Spirit, and ye know made perfect by the flesh? Who dazzled you that you stopped obeying the truth? What would you want to hang in your vault? Why would you want to be hanging in Satan's vault to begin with? What bait did Satan use to lure you into hell for? Was it money, women, men, porn, bitterness, hatred? Don't let the devil brag about catching you, because he will.